In today's episode, do shady thing, fire my boss, hide millions from your client? I don't think so. Competitor IT company steals our articles. Don't want to fix my IT issue? Well, I think it's time for a new CTO. So let's get started. Do shady thing, fire my boss, hide millions from your client? I don't think so. Forgive me if this is long. This happened a while ago, but it's still so fresh on my mind. I left college with a business degree in one hand and no job in the other. And like so many colleges, the promises of alumni willing to give jobs to graduates could not have been further from the truth. So I had to seek out my start from the bottom. I found a good job in operations at a company, I can't say who without giving it away. Had a great boss, who taught me pretty much everything I needed to know. Work was great and the money was good. I need to explain how the business worked so you can understand how the plan worked. The corporate office was in California and we were not. There are a lot of things that went on at this company, and I can't get into all of them because it would just take away from the story, but let's just say they had a very Stratton Oakmont vibe when it came to sales. I started out worked in operations with some of the smaller clients, but with some help from my boss, was able to climb the ladder rather quickly to the point of being over all the operations and order processing for the firm. We had a very large client, 90% of the company's business. The way it worked was we had two sets of sales reps, TSRs and CSRs. TSRs were the heavy hitters who reached out to the other big businesses and tech firms to extend their warranties on a product. They made real good money. The CSRs were more of the mom and pop crowd and the inbound sales calls for those that wanted to extend their warranties. The reps were all given codes that associates the client's files with theirs, so if someone did a renewal automatically, they would get paid as it was their client. Pretty sweet gig. The client hired the firm to be the middleman for their B2B as they handled all of their everyday clients. For every $100 that came into our firm, 18% or $18 would be for the company, and the rest would be sent to the clients with the warranties activated. Most of the clients paid by CC or PO with a wire transfer, but there would also be a good amount of checks each week that would need to be processed. A little while after I started, the client check portion was now going to be overseen by one of the sales managers. Didn't really faze me because I was working on the smaller accounts. Since we were a publicly traded company, all the sales reps' orders had to go to operations to be fulfilled. They weren't allowed to process them on their own. This is when things started going downhill. My boss at the time was given temporary access to the financials as they were hiring a new CFO, and he had a background with it. We went to lunch like we had done plenty of times before, but he seemed different. When I asked him if something was wrong, he told me that something looked off with our biggest client for one of the accounts. He wanted to make sure before he said anything to the higher-ups. While this was going on, I had been offered the chance to be our new compliance officer, which means I would need to make sure everything was on the up and up. Soon after, I come in to find out that my boss was just terminated for a multitude of reasons, all of which had to be untrue because he was a pretty well-liked guy with not just with the company, but with our client as well. As I log into my terminal, I see that before he left, he had given me admin access to his files. Here's where things started to pop off. Remember those checks that clients were sending in to renew their warranties? Well, we were cashing them all right. Apparently, we just weren't adding those renewals to their products in the system. That would have triggered a payout to our client, who, as you remember, would be getting 82% of that money. Instead, they were cashing the checks, keeping the money, and using the interest in the accounts. Yes, in the mid-2000s, banks actually paid interest to cover losses in their collections department. It was wild to see that this was happening, and something had to be done. So I hatched a plan. First things first, secure a new job cause it won't be a fun place to work after this. Done. My previous boss knew of other companies that would scoop me up. Put in my notice, and stated in my exit interview that I just couldn't be a part of what was happening, even though HR was in on this. I wanted it on the record. Next, get approval for overtime for all the operations crew to come in on a Saturday and double pay them. They arrive early Saturday, obviously not too thrilled as to why they are there. But when I explained that if they complete the task, not only so they get their overtime, but they get nice bonuses, they were much happier. They spent the entire day applying all of those checks dated back years to the client accounts. We are talking millions of dollars. When all the sales reps arrived Monday, they were shocked to hell. Not only did they meet their weekly goals before picking up the phones, they made their monthly and quarterly goals too. 2 weeks into the new quarter. Cheers. Partying. Yelling. Screaming. Celebrating. Except sales management. They went from being really excited, to skeptical, to confused, to oh shit in about 2 hours. They realized where it must have come from. Because not only did the company hit all these sales, since it had been over a day, the client came into work Monday to see a very nice payday in their system as well. And like anyone, would have questions, and says they are coming out to congratulate the team on such great numbers. So management starts scrambling because they can't figure out how this happened, and all under my boss's old login. On my last day I arrive and in the lobby. I've got my box for the last of my things, Guy walks up as is waiting for the elevator with me, and we strike up conversation. He notices my box and jokes about getting fired, and I just tell him I had a great opportunity come up, so I decided to leave before shit hits the fan. We laughed. Really nice down-to-earth guy. He realizes we are getting off on the same floor. He asks if I work for X, I say yes. He asks where, I tell him operations, and he reveals that he is the CEO of our client, Gulp. We go our separate ways. Client shows up and there is a big party. Afterwards, the client says that they would love to get a breakdown of where most of the sales came from so they can allocate more money to that department. Management says sure, but it made up a lie about how they can't share client payment info due to regulations, blah blah blah. Cue my exit from the company. 2 weeks go by and I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize, so I let it go to VM. When I get off work I checked it, to find out it was the CEO of the client where I used to work. He has had something come up and would like to talk to me. Of course I'm nervous as hell, but I call him back and he picks up on the first ring, and we get to chatting for a bit, and he finally just asks me, why did you leave? I tell him I had a great opportunity come up. He doesn't buy it and says that apparently my comment about shit hitting the fan really stuck with him, and he thinks something more is going on. So after a little more prodding from him, I tell him just look at collections, and that's all I can say. He thanks me and I hang up. 2 days later, he pulled the plug on the account. Apparently my old company tried to threaten him with a lawsuit for pulling the account 3 years early. He replied with, that's fine, because when I show the courts that I have the evidence that you committed fraud. Corporate came in and cleaned house. All of management was fired within the day. 1 month later, my friends and I had a very memorable trip in Vegas, all courtesy of our old client. Competitor IT company steals our articles. I owned an IT company, we'll call it UberTech, that strictly manages business networks, no website development, graphics, etc. One of my employees was tackling an interesting support request with instructions for making changes to a company's website. This happens from time to time where a customer gets confused with their various tech vendors, or assumes that we provide all tech-related services. He called the person to get more context, and being in earshot, I could tell that my employee's call was quickly escalating with a frustrated person on the other end, and he has already offered to pass the call off to his manager. Me, UberTech, how can I help you? Pissed off web owner, I want to know what is going on here. I don't know who you are, I don't know why you're calling me, and I don't know why you have my support information. Me, sir, to be honest, I don't know who you are, why we are calling you, and why we have your support information either, but together I think we can figure this out. I understand that you have a website, and made a request for some changes. Who hosts your website? Web owner, Derp Company. On their support website there are instructions to send support requests. I followed them, and now I have you calling me with my support information. Me, sir, I definitely want to get down to the bottom of this. We do not even offer website services. If you would please work with me, I am sure we can get an answer. What I want to do is have you share your screen with me, and then show me what you did to request support. I had him run our remote control software. He then proceeded to navigate to DERPCO's support website, support.derpco.com, navigated through the customer self-service pages to a knowledge base article, KB, on how to submit a support. He pulled up this specific KB article, and I was staring at a verbatim copy of an article that I had written on our own support site. There were no changes to the article, including the step to email your support request to, and it was my company's email address right there. Me, thank you for taking the time to show me this. I think I found the problem. Notice the email address in the instructions. It is telling you to email ubertech.com, that is us. Now, please allow me to show you something. I then scrolled down to the bottom of DERPCO's plagiarized support article, and noted the creation date, 2007. I then navigated to our company support website, support.ubertech.com, and navigated to our own matching article. We both confirmed that it was the same article, and I showed him the creation date of our article, 2005. Web owner, oh, look at that. Me, I think it is safe to say that DERPCO has stolen our content, did not even update the instructions, misleading you to send a support request to us. Web owner, I am sure you have a few things to take care of with Derp Company. I would appreciate it if you do not mention us when you call them. Me, of course, sir. Thank you for your time with this. I immediately searched DERPCO's support website looking for more of our stolen content, found a total of 5 articles, and promptly printed them out and saved copies as PDF. So what to do in this situation? Do I call the owner of DERPCO? This is a small town, so I needed to be clever and not taint my own image. How do I get revenge? Hire a lawyer? Leave the articles as is and hope more support requests come to us that can bring us business? Revenge unleashed. No, I wrote a press release. News release date, for immediate release. Title, UberTech endorsed by local competitor. I got some great kudos from local businesses. One client in particular was rolling. 2 days later I get an email from the owner of Derp Company. I would appreciate it if you were to remove the press release from your website. This is a small town and it is just not good business. I went to their support site and still found 3 articles from our company. I wrote back and told him that I would be happy to do so, but there are at least still 3 articles on their support site that need to be removed. 2 days later I got another email confirming that the articles were removed. Epilogue. In the end I took down our press release, but still have a copy kept in our office, and would tell this story our new employees. Don't want to fix my IT issue? Well, I think it's time for a new CTO. I just want to state that this IT issue is going blow some people's F***king minds. The security flaw that this presented was nothing short of incredible. And the fact that we never had a major security breach is astounding. It truly is. The flaw, you may ask. Everyone in the entire company password was the same password. Yes, folks, you read that right. Every single password to every single employee login was the same password. It was like this before I joined the company, and for quite a few years after. Until, well, enjoy the story. Now, what about the username? That must have been the trick, right? Oh yeah, that was a trick. The username was the employee email address. I did point out this flaw to my management, and their response was that's not our area to be concerned about, so whatever, it paid well, I'll do my job. And then one day, we had a Windows update which caused a piece of the software I used at work to break. I submitted a help ticket, and after escalating this issue I got to the CTO. It wasn't a huge company. The CTO said I don't want to spend the time fixing this, use this workaround, to which I pointed out the workaround slows things down, makes my job harder, and this Windows update has to affect more than just me. I was told to suck it up. Now at the time the CEO was the son of the founder and a bit of fuckwit. I legit feel at this point in time he was just collecting a paycheck and letting everything run on auto and didn't pay attention. But I was mad at the CTO for brushing me off, so I penned an email to the CEO. It was a short email. I simply said, I discovered a massive security flaw that could potentially expose us to huge liabilities. When would be a good time to discuss this? The response? What security flaw? I decided to demonstrate the flaw. I picked 2 random salespeople. I didn't know them. I got their username, and I logged into their systems. And I pulled 2 random customers' personal information. The kind of information that would have easily allowed me to commit identity fraud, pull out credit in their names, etc., all kinds of bad stuff. I emailed the CEO and I explained anyone who knows the URL to log into our system can log into any one account, pull up customers' information, and everyone has the same password. To prove this, I logged into 2 employees' random accounts and pulled 2 different customers' profiles, and I've attached them. One single disgruntled employee could screw us over. 25 minutes later my phone rings. It's the CEO. He was nice, very interested in how I did this. This guy isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I pointed out the flaw in plain English and the liability that it presents to him. I walked him through the process of hacking my own account, as he called it. I'd hate to call it hacking cause it was so easy. Now it dawned on this CEO that this liability was huge. I pointed out again in our conversation a single upset employee could destroy us. The fact that it hadn't happened already is nothing short of a miracle. I get told they want me to present this to the executive team, so they can discuss a solution. Honestly, the solution is King obvious. So a day later we have the conference call. It's the CEO, the CTO, COO, CFO, the company lawyer, the senior VP, etc., and on the call I demonstrate the flaw, and I lay out how I, as a layperson with very little IT background, is able to figure this out. It's incredible that we have this flaw. Everyone is in agreement that is a huge issue. Expect the CTO. The CTO gets very upset at me. He wants me fired for hacking the system. He says that per our employee handbook what I did is fireable offense. I point out that I'm not abusing this loophole, and I'm only doing it to expose the flaw because I care about the company, and I think this is something that needs to be brought forward. I point out that a former disgruntled employee could log into an account and steal customers' personal information, and if that were traced back to us the liability would be huge. I could tell our corporate attorney agreed with me and was shocked at what I was demonstrating. The CTO pointed out that former employees' usernames are disabled, to why I pointed out. Every employee username is their email address. It would be trivial for a former disgruntled employee to use a different employee email address that they remember to log in, and since everyone's password is the same they don't even have to guess. The CTO points out that we would know who did it cause of the IP address. I pointed out that VPNs are indeed a thing. The corporate attorney actually wasn't familiar with what VPNs do, and I explained it. And what shocked me, if the whole time the only person in the meeting who didn't agree this flaw needs to be changed was the CTO. The CEO made it clear that this issue would be fixed by the end of business that day, and there was no ifs, ands, or buts about this. The meeting ended. After the meeting the CTO called me privately. He was pissed. I just exposed his incompetence because the system was his design. The decision for everyone to have the same password was his decision. And I know why he did it. He did it cause he was King lazy. And I said to the CTO, "You're a shitty CTO, you shouldn't be in the position you are, and you're lazy. You should have found a better solution for my help ticket." He stops and asks, "So this is about your stupid help ticket?" I go, yes it is." He laughs and says he's going to have me fired, and I laugh and go, "I'm pretty sure someone is getting fired. I'm also super confident that's not going to be me." Well, sure enough, later that day we got an email stating that everyone was to change their passwords to something unique. A week later, the CEO announced the old CTO stepped down to spend more time with his family. On the first day of the new CTO tenure, he sent me an email telling me he wanted to personally work on my help ticket and find a solution around the Windows update. Which I'm pleased to say he did. And I later had conversations with our attorney at a meeting. We legit never had a security breach. Which is simply astounding. The attorney admitted that was just plain dumb luck on our part, and if we would have had a security breach, it would have been very bad for us. Thanks for watching.